5 years ago, after I'd been active on YouTube for just about 6 months, Birdkeeper Toby gave me an incredible opportunity to make a video for his channel. Since I don't have any new videos for you this month, I'm republishing that one on my own channel. Except for this intro and the outro at the end, it's exactly the same video as 5 years ago. It feels old compared to how I make videos now, but the theory still holds up very well. Here it goes. Wait, what? Isn't Giovanni supposed to be a big bad crime boss like the Wilson Fisk of the Pokemon world? I just beat him in a Pokemon battle, why is he giving up? Why doesn't he just point his pistol at me and make me hand over my Pokemon? It's a question that comes up over and over again every time there's a new Pokemon game. It's been the same question for over 2 decades. Why do bad guys in Pokemon always cooperate and bow out peacefully in the end? I'm Umbreon Libris, and Toby has very generously invited me onto his channel to finally give you an answer. I would say that most people think of Pokemon battles in the framework of sports, and that is how trainer battles are presented to us. There is a league that regulates how battles can be fought, like how many Pokemon you can have. You start your athletic career by practicing against whatever you can, like battling weak wild Pokemon and other rookie trainers like youngsters. But once you get the hang of it, you start to battle against increasingly skilled trainers like ace trainers and gym leaders until you qualify to face the strongest opponents in the land and have a shot at becoming the champion. In the anime, trainer battles are even more like sports, even for friendly battles between two random trainers who just bump into each other out on some route. There's often a limit placed on how many Pokemon each side will use, and a lot of times there's even someone serving as a referee. The whole structure of league championships in the anime is based on big sporting events with tournament-style knockout matches and big packed stadiums. But the sports metaphor falls apart a little bit when it comes to the actual plot of the games, which involves you, as the player character, taking on a criminal organization. You battle your way to the boss, and when you beat him in battle, he concedes defeat and walks away. Sometimes it takes more than one battle, but you defeat them even when they bring their best teams. And when you do, the threat is gone for good. Well, except Team Rocket, they love a comeback. But as far as I can remember, never, not once, do any evil team members come at you personally. They never try to punch you or hold you down, and they definitely never point a gun at you. And I can't think of a single sport where that scenario would make sense. If you're an evil crime boss who also happens to be a football coach and your entire organization will crumble if people find out that you lost a match to some prodigy, you're not going to let that happen. You probably won't even give the prodigy a chance to play. So what is it? Is it just that Pokemon is a game for children and they didn't want to have adults attacking children? Well, that is probably part of it, but there is also an in-universe explanation that makes sense. In the early days of Pokemon, trainers were actually intended to participate in battles alongside their Pokemon. That is, until the team at Game Freak had a realization. If you can fight on your own, what's the point of having Pokemon? So, in a game design sense, but also critically in a world-building sense, they took away the ability for people to fight each other directly. The Pokemon world has almost no weapons at all, with very few exceptions. There are lots of weapons in the anime, of course, Team Rocket uses them all the time, but keep in mind that the anime is actually made by different people. The anime is based on the games, but they take a lot of liberties. It's a different canon. The real source material is the games, and in the games there are very few weapons. There have been trainers like tamers and policemen that use whips and batons, but those are probably more for taming and controlling Pokemon than actually for fighting. In Gen 4, Team Galactic did have their Galactic Bomb, but that's not used against people, although it did leave a bunch of Magikarp to flop on land. The only real weapons come from the Kalos games. There is, of course, the ultimate weapon, a weapon of mass destruction used in a war against people and Pokemon. Definitely a real weapon. That was used once 3,000 years ago. And then there's Honedge, Doublade, and Aegislash. I don't think these Pokemon are ghosts inhabiting swords because they can breed, but even if that's the case, their Pokedex entries prove that swords have existed at some point because these Pokemon are described as swords. There was also a sword in one of Sinnoh's myths, but again, these are old weapons. They're not actually in use anymore. I mean, even Vikstrom, the Kalos Elite Four member who dresses like an actual knight, has an Aegislash, but not an actual sword. So, in a world where weapons basically do not exist, but people carry around and compete with magical beings with very dangerous abilities, the Pokemon are the weapons. That may seem a bit obvious, but think about what that means in practice. A Pokemon battle is really a match between my weapons and your weapons. A Pokemon that is defeated is like a weapon that's broken or run out of ammunition. In a friendly competitive situation, this doesn't matter much, but in a hostile battle, it means that the winner still has usable weapons, whereas the loser is literally defenseless. I mean, they could try to punch you, but is that really advisable when you have a Blastoise pointing its cannons at you? It's probably pretty taboo to use Pokemon against people, but we know that it happens at least occasionally. Lance has his Dragonite use Hyper Beam against a Team Rocket member at their hideout in Mahogany, so the possibility that a Pokemon would attack you does exist. And whereas with real weapons, someone who is unarmed can try to disarm the other person and take their weapons, with Pokemon, that's just not going to work. Pokemon are loyal creatures and maybe even sentient. In a hostile Pokemon battle, the loser has no option but to cooperate. Of course, if they're not being arrested or something, those evil crime bosses can just heal their Pokemon and train some more so they don't lose the next battle. But if they're being repeatedly overpowered by a 10-year-old, it makes sense that they would eventually give up and permanently hang their Pokeballs. Until 3 years later, when a different 10-year-old sweeps their entire team right when they were about to make their comeback. Whether you found my channel because of this video, or you were around before that and remember my sub count jumping from just 100 to over 1,000 in a matter of days, or if you've never seen this video before, I hope you enjoyed this blast from the past.
Also, Bookshelf Glow Up!
I'll be back with a new video in a few weeks. Now that the hidden treasure of Area Zero is complete, I'm finally starting to put together my complete review of Scarlet and Violet. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next chapter.